Okay, so here we are. There's been a lot of controversy going on the past few months with the Cleopatra movie and the whole Egyptians black, Egyptians were not whole, BS going on. Over the past few months, I've been reading, watching comments from some of the most ignorant, most racist people you can imagine. Ignorant comments on both sides, coming from the modern day Egyptians and from blacks. Both sides are wrong, absolutely wrong. So, and don't get me wrong, I'm by no means am I a hotep. I'm not somebody that has spent their whole life studying Egyptian culture and trying to decipher the hieroglyphs. No, I'm not one of those. But anybody can research anything and put in a lot of time and effort, but I'm in no way considered a hotep. There's some really excuse me, there's some really like hoteps out there who got very, very high power levels, should I say, who've been doing this for the past 30, 40 years and, been to Egypt and debate people and people. There's some high level hoteps who put in a lot of time in this. Some of them who like up in their 50s and 60s now, professors now. While I might not agree with everything I might not agree with everything they say. There's some truth to what they say. Like they're not just pulling all kind of BS out of nowhere. And let me explain something. Even though African Americans don't have any ancestry to the ancient Egyptians, you have to basically play History Olympics to try to trace some migration patterns back there. You can say the exact same thing for the modern day Egyptians. The modern day Egyptians are not the ancient Egyptians. The modern day Egyptians are mongrels, meaning they are a bunch of different races put together. Basically, it means that they're a bunch of mutts. Okay? It's only a small percentage of them it's only a small percentage of their DNA that is ancient Egyptians. So, and let me explain something to y'all. Modern day Egyptians, they are very highly disingenuous to the things that they say online. They are completely ignorant of Egyptian culture, but they're from Egypt, you might say. That doesn't mean anything. The Egyptian culture, the Egyptian history has been wiped from them years ago. They have been conquered and colonized by so many people. They don't know anything about ancient Egyptian culture. They practice an Arab culture. It's actually haram or illegal to even learn about the religion of the polytheists, which would be the ancient Egyptians. They don't teach the ancient Egyptian language in the school. It was outlawed by the Arabs. Nothing. There's nothing about the ancient Egyptian culture that's passed down from family to family. They don't still speak the language. They don't still do the same cultural dances. They don't still eat the same foods. They don't still wear the same hairstyles. Nothing. They don't know anything more about ancient Egyptian culture than we do. Anything that they know about ancient Egyptian culture, they have to research and read online just like we do. They are completely disconnected from that culture. They don't have any cultural practice of the ancient Egyptians, but funny, in all the other countries outside of Egypt to the south, you'll find people in all those countries still doing the same doing the same cultural dances and ceremonies that you see on the hieroglyphs. But you won't see modern Egyptians doing this. So, what I'm going to debunk in this video, modern Egyptians are not the ancient Egyptians and don't know anything, are just as ignorant about ancient Egyptian culture as anybody. And I will prove that in this video. They are mongrels. They are mutts. They don't have any culture. Their only culture is the Arabs' culture that they adopted from them. And African Americans, no, African Americans do not have any ancestry to ancient Egypt. That is false. The modern Egyptians and black Americans have to play history Olympics to trace back a bunch of migration patterns and shit back to ancient Egyptian just to claim it. It's stupid. So, in this video, I will debunk all of that, and I will prove to you and point out how disingenuous modern day Egyptians are. Now, unfortunately, you have a lot of young, ignorant people who don't know anything, who have large social media platforms that they use to spew their ignorance on. And unfortunately, other people pick up on it and they'll think that what they're saying is true. Like this ignorant young lady here from Egypt, modern day Egyptian, might I add. Just listen to this. And one thing that I want to add about the whole Cleopatra film. Yes, Jada Pickett doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. I have no idea why she would pick Cleopatra out of all people, out of all the Egyptians to try to get a black person to play Egyptian. Why Cleopatra? I have no idea why Jada Pickett was in charge of this, why nobody told her or anything, but that was a terrible decision. No, Cleopatra was not black or anything close to it. But I want to point out how racist the modern day Egyptians are. With all the racist comments that have come from this. Now, the ancient Egyptians say, the modern day Egyptians who got mad over this film, they say, oh no, Cleopatra wasn't black. Yeah, she wasn't black. But Cleopatra was Greek. Are y'all Greek? No, y'all, well, you don't claim to be, at least y'all claim to be Egyptian, so why the fuck are you all worried about a Greek Egyptian? Someone from Greece. That's not you, so you shouldn't be concerned. The real reason why you're mad is because she's black and she's portraying an important Egyptian figure. Now notice, where was all of the outrage and all of the previous and all of cinematic history of all the Egyptian films from cinematic history where you had Europeans playing Egyptian pharaohs? Where was all of the outcry from that? There was no outcry from all that. They didn't give a damn. They only care when it's dark-skinned black people playing Egyptians because they are racist. I'm sorry, and I know I'm not a woke person. I'm not a woke liberal or anything who likes to play use the victimization card, but you got to call a spade a spade. These modern day Egyptian people, they do not like dark-skinned people. That's just that. But yeah, they didn't have any problem in all the other cinematic history with all the white people playing Egyptian pharaohs. There was no outcry. Oh well, the movie Gods in Exodus and Gods and Kings in Egypt, they banned that. They didn't ban that because of who they had. Because of the castings. They banned one because because one is about Israel. It's about the Jew. It's basically like a Jewish film, and Muslims in Egypt, they don't like that. And the other one, it's kind of a polytheistic film, so that's why they banned it. They didn't ban it. It didn't have anything to do with castings. So before y'all try to say, oh, and name those two movies and say, oh, they tried to ban those too. No, as they did not ban those movies because of castings. So anyway, so let's hear what she got to say.
Watch out, Egyptians, because they are using crocodile tears and the word, oh my god, you hate us. So they can gain some empathy from us and we will cuddle them while they are stealing our history and our civilization.
Hetchi, I think she meant heritage of civilization. You don't have any heritage. You don't have any civilization. The only heritage that you know about is your Arab culture. Notice you're wearing a hijab right now. Can you point to me on the Egyptian hieroglyphics of any woman wearing what you're wearing now? You don't have any culture. You don't have any heritage. It's lost and destroyed.
So, whenever someone is trying to steal your house, please put a gun to his head and never tolerate his tears, not because he's
Someone's trying to steal your house, put a gun to their head. She said that.
poor, not because he disrespected himself that much so he can be a thief, won't change the fact that he's a thief. You think using the word, oh my god, you are hating on us, oh my god, what we did to you, what? What? You are stealing? You are stealing us, you are stealing our history.
This is pure ignorance. This is why social media, everybody should not be given a platform to speak to a wide range of people in the world. You do not have any history. You do not have any culture. You have adopted the Arabs' culture. Look at what you're wearing. You adopted the Arabs' clothing, their language, their food, everything. There's nothing about your culture or history that you practice today that is from the ancient Egyptian culture. Absolutely nothing. You are as disconnected from the ancient Egyptian culture as African Americans are disconnected from African culture. It is the same difference.
What you were expecting? To cuddle? To let you in? Oh my god, please, 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 I beg you, please steal my history, please steal my kings and queens.
Who are your kings and queens? Cleopatra? Cleopatra was a Greek. You said that you're not Greek, so why do you even care? Who are they stealing?
You crazy. Crazy girl. This is a life lesson for you and for anyone. Guys, do not tolerate with thieves. Because this is our homeland and we will defend it the wildest.
Oh, well, first off, it's not your homeland, but if it is your homeland and you're defending to the wildest, why didn't you defend it from the Arabs, the Hyksos, the Libyans, the Nubians, the Assyrians, the Persians, the Romans, the Macedonians, the Arabs, the Phoenicians, the Israelites? Seem to me like y'all don't do much defending of anybody from anybody. So
We have. Do not be fooled by how kind Egyptians can be. We are very, very wild and we can take over whatever get in our way so we can move forward.
why don't you take over all the countries around you? I mean, you live in a poor third world country. I mean, why don't you take over the world if you say you can defend and take over whatever you want to?
You wish to steal my history, my home? I will
It's not your home, you mutt. You don't have any history or culture. I've just explained that.
suck the life out of your face. Crocodile's tears
This is actually mental illness.
will never fool us. Aswan and Luxor, and so yes, we have like darkened skin, but not African features. What's so hard about this?
African features. What are African features? Having dark skin and thick kinky hair. You don't see people like this. They don't know what African features are. There's many different races in Africa. There's many different features in Africa. There's not really one specific African look. All modern day races are products of intermixing. There is no such thing in the world today as a pure blooded race. We are all products of different migrational waves and mixing. That's all we are.
This oh my god, oh. You are hating on us. No, we don't hate anybody. We don't hate anybody. Aswan Luxor is our country. You are not Aswanian or
Aswan is not a country.
Sure again. Why do you hate black people so much though? Nothing. They're just trying to steal our history and try to kill our identity.
You don't have any identity. Your identity is Muhammad.
I have no idea why. Oh my god. Tell me why. Please tell me why. Tell me why. because if you have someone is breaking into your house, you will, oh my god,
Somebody's breaking into your house. Why didn't y'all say that when the Arabs invaded Draw?
please hug me. Let me have, let me make you some lemonade so you can steal whatever you want.
Cute, right?
Okay, so this is a real good brother right here who did some real good research. If you really want more information on some of the Egyptians or the Egyptian pharaohs that were more what you would call black or tropical African or Afro-Asian features, to prove more of that, you definitely want to follow this guy right here. So a lot of these Egyptians, some of the ones modern day Egyptians who think that they're smart, they'll always say, "Ha ha ha! They did it. They did a study on 150 Egyptian mummies' DNA, and it comes back that they're all genetically exactly the same as us. Ha 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 ha! Y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Here's the link. That they'll say that. So that little DNA test about those from those 151 Egyptian mummies, if you actually take your time to look at that study, you'll find out how they cherry picked it. And let's debunk that right now.
Right. Already in the summary, we can find two issues highlighted. One is that the genome data set only come from 3 individuals from the New Kingdom to the Roman period. Yet the study uses these 3 particular individuals from a rather late time period in one single locale in Lower Egypt, that is, northern Egypt, to conclude that the entire population of all the periods of ancient Egypt was similar to these 3 individuals. A clear fallacy. This would amount to taking 3 bodies from Detroit, USA, a predominantly black city, studying them, and then conclude that the entirety of North American population has always been black and that the Native and white American components only came later. I am not the only person who has spotted this issue. Here
I told y'all. So you gotta be a certain type of individual to sort of see through people, to see the fallacy and disingenuous and the biasness in a lot of people. I told you the modern day Egyptians, they are very disingenuous people. So this little study of 151 Egyptian mummies, you see how they cherry picked it. And we're gonna go into more detail. Out of 51 mummies, they could only 3 of them were fit for genetic testing, and out of those 3, they were all from one of the later kingdoms. Which is the later kingdoms are the ones that are more mixed. This is after being conquered by about 20 different kingdoms from Europe and the East. These are the ones that they decided to test. So you have to pay attention to things like this.
is a UCLA professor, Christopher Ehret, brilliantly exposing the same issue.
Now, this guy, Christopher Everett, or how you pronounce his name, he's a distinguished research professor at UCLA. He's a scholar of African history and American linguistics. Excuse me, American linguistics. Excuse me, American linguistics.
By the way, this is just going off here for a second. Some of you may have seen or heard about a recent genetics article that makes the ancient Egyptians out to be Levantines. Let me be very clear, these findings come from one locale in a large stretch of possible locales in northern Egypt, and the finds date well after the foundational periods of ancient Egypt. It's somewhat as if, I was thinking of this particular image, rather than investigating DNA from a 17th century cemetery in Plymouth, we instead choose to investigate DNA from a later 19th century cemetery in South Boston. And then we conclude, having done that the United States was founded by people of Irish descent, and that Americans were predominantly are predominantly Irish. Well, that isn't necessarily how the writers of the article meant it to be interpreted, but that's certainly the way I've had people interpreting it to me. Even someone with a Coptic, seemed to be a Coptic last name from the sounds of things, berating me for being such a terrible human being all these years of my whole career, for ever having thought of Egypt as being African. So, are bringing together a whole new body, and maybe I should say whole new bodies of evidence, revealing the African rootedness of pre-dynastic and early dynastic Egyptian culture.
It's brilliant what he says. You can check his lecture on the Africanity of ancient Egypt, an amazing linguistic lecture on the origin of the Afro-Asiatic language family.
Okay, so here's the source that they love to talk about. The study with 150 Egyptian mummies, in which we've just proved is cherry-picked and misinterpreted. So here's the source. You can all read through this. I have. The genome data only comes from 3 mummies from the New Kingdom to the Roman period in Lower Egypt, which is the north side of Egypt today, a place known for foreign invasions. So out of all the mummies, the only ones that they tested for DNA are the ones who come from the north part of Egypt, the part that was more heavily subjected to invasion, to foreign invasions from people. They did not genetically test any mummy from the southern part of Egypt. So yeah, out of all 151 mummies that were, out of all 151 mummies used in the study, only 3 were fit for genetic testing analysis. And two of the three from the late period of the New Kingdom, which is known for foreign invasion, and the others from the Ptolemy Greek period. So two out of the 3 mummies that were fit for testing were from the New Kingdom, which is known for foreign invasion, and the other one was from the Ptolemy Greek period. So when modern day Egyptians tell you that they did a study on 151 mummies and it says that they are closely related to us, I want you to remember this, that they only tested 3 mummies from those 151. 2 of them were from the late period of the New Kingdom, and the other one was from the Ptolemy Greek period, which means that they were Greek. So if this mummy that they tested was Greek, and they're saying that it's heavily genetically close to modern day Egyptians, then what does that mean that they are? That means that they're very close, genetically close to Greeks. So when a lot of people be like, modern day Egyptians are not ancient Egyptians, modern day Egyptians are Arabs, they kind of are. And then you got some people who, you got this new group of people who used to formerly, even like myself, used to formerly be Afrocentrics or Pan-Africans or whatever, and used to think that all Egyptians were black and whatever. And now that we've learned that that's not the truth, they come back and just think that everything that black people say is false and kind of just go the 100% opposite way. They'll just be like, oh, well, no, modern day Egyptians are, no, they're not black. Modern day Egyptians, they're original Africans. Modern day Egyptians are some of the most mixed groups of people that you can find on this earth. They'll say like, some of them like, oh, well, modern Egyptians, well, they're only about 16% Arab. No, that is false. First off, if the genetic study on the 151 mummies was cherry-picked and false, then where exactly does this notion that they're only 70% Arab come from? And how valid is this? But let's just say it is. Let's say that they're only 17% Arabian. So 68% North African. Well, what is a North African? North Africans are already mixed. Depending on how far back when you want to go, North Africans are historically a mixed mongrel group of people. They are also mutts. But I'll get into that in another video. But let's say that modern day Egyptians are 17% Arab, which is a lie. It's a lot more than that. 4% Jewish diaspora, which is basically Levant people and Europeans. So you can add that on. It's the same group of people as Arabs. Eastern African people, 3%. Asia Minor, that's like up near Turkey. Okay, so more European or Levant people. Southern European. So you add this, you just add this together. It's a little. They definitely have more admixture of Arab, Levant type people, more than 17%. So do not let them fool you, people. If you know anything about genetics and migration patterns and the history of Egypt and just of the world, then you know that these people are very heavily mixed. And just because we're mixed, that we're still the ancient Egyptians? No. As an African American, most African Americans are 15% European. Is that enough for us to claim European culture and heritage? No. If you take away that 15% of European DNA out of African Americans, then we would look different. If my DNA is 70% this, 30% this, if you take away that 30%, I won't be who I am anymore. All of my DNA makes up who I am. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, for modern day Egyptians, if you're, let's say 68% ancient Egyptians and 30% Arab, you don't have enough of anything to exactly claim either one of them. So I want to point out how disingenuous they can be with the picture look-likership. With the picture meme whole thing, with the look-alike pictures. Now, this is the mummy of, I think you pronounce her name, Maya Herperi. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. But she was found in the Valley of the Kings. Now, they call her a Nubian. Why? I don't know, because there seems to be no reference of exactly who she was and what she did. There is no history on where she came from, her background or anything. Now they'll try to lie and say that she was a slave, so she was buried next to her king, or she was just some type of servant or a daycare worker, which is false. So if she was a slave and she was buried next to her kings, then where are all the other slaves who were buried next to all the other kings there? It's false. They don't know anything about her. So they just call her a Nubian because of their hair. Because of her hair. Of course, she can't be a real Egyptian because of her hair, so she has to be Nubian. This is the way that they think. And let me also tell you how disingenuous and stupid they are. They'll try to say that this is a wig. They'll sit up here and try to say that this is a fucking wig that she has on. Now I want y'all to look closely. Now, if you black, you know how coily this hair is and these type of twists. This is not no damn wig. You can even see like the little baby hair where it's attached right there. That is not a fucking wig. And if it's a wig, show me an actual valid source saying that it's a wig, and show them actually in the video pulling off the wig, showing that it's a wig. I'll wait as long as possible. And if it's a wig, if y'all look so different from Nubians, why are you wearing wigs that happens to be the same hair texture as Nubians, to people who you so-calledly hate so much? I'm telling you, these people are disingenuous and they are lying. Now, A lot of these modern day Egyptians online, they like to post pictures showing that I guess lighter skinned Egyptians with darker skinned Egyptians as slaves or black Nubian slaves. Anybody can cherry pick pictures to make their argument look good. So I'll counter react that. Here you have here Queen Aishayet, if that's how you pronounce her name, right here. She's obviously black. You see her hairstyle. You have a white or yellow one here behind her as a servant. You have a brown one here as a scribe. You got another yellow one. I guess the modern day Egyptians right here, the Mutts, as another servant. You have a brownish red one here playing an instrument. You have what they call Nubian slaves here, or servants, serving her food. They won't show this one, of course. They only show certain ones that fit their argument. Okay, now let's listen to this.
Real Egyptians are black because the real Egyptians, they are real Africans.
The Egyptians are black. Real Egyptians are black Africans. Now these are real Nubian people. These are real Nubian people. Now, keep in mind that the Nubian people, their area kind of stretches from modern day Sudan up to the southern part of Egypt on the map. So these people are more so the real ancient Egyptians. These Afro-Asiatic type looking people who you commonly find if you're looking at the map in the southern part of Egypt and in the Sudan. And actually even further than that, Afro-Asiatic people, it's all over East Africa. These are the ancient Egyptians.
So those people in Lower Egypt, you see in Cairo, Alexandria, and Falahins area, they were mixed between the Turkish, Mamluks, French, English, Romans. They were mixed between the Turkish, Mamluks, French, English, Romans. They were mixed between the Turkish, Mamluks, French, English, Romans. They were mixed between the Turkish, Mamluks, French, English, Romans.
What was that? These people said that they are the real Egyptians. Real Egyptians were black Africans. The people that live on the north part of Egypt, if you're looking on the map, which is Lower Egypt, they are mixed people. He named a bunch of different kingdoms that conquered and mixed with them. I told you, Egypt has been conquered by so many foreign kingdoms. They've been conquered by the Hyksos, the Libyans, the Nubians, the Assyrians, the Persians, the Romans, the Greeks, the Phoenicians, the Israelites, the Arabs. Oh my God. How could these people be anything but mixed mutts? What would make you think that people in Lower Egypt or the north part of Egypt are 100% pure-blooded ancient Egyptians? You have to be a complete idiot and a moron to think so.
So those people who come to attack Egypt in that time, they couldn't come to Upper Egypt, to the south, which we still have the same color.
They couldn't come to the south, to the southern part of Egypt, or Upper Egypt. They still have the same color as they do now.
Our dark color or black color. So they couldn't mix with us.
So all the foreign invaders, they didn't come that far down to mix in with them. That's why they retain their color and their culture. Only people in Lower Egypt, which is the northern part of Egypt, are the ones, aka modern Egyptians, are the ones who were subject to foreign invasion and had to get mixed and assimilated in.
Next question.
Okay.
Okay, what question?
المصريين الاصليين اللي هم السمر، انما البيض ده كلهم. I, you see, I explained to him about the Nubians and the Egyptians. They were not white; they are black Africans. So he say now, ليه هنا الناس لسه سمر في الصعيد وفي بحري بيض. He say the people in Lower East, most of them they are not Egyptians. No. They are Greeks, Francois.
Most of the people in Lower Egypt, which is the north part of Egypt, are not real Egyptians. They are Greeks. He said it. It's said that in Egypt during Alexander's empire reign, most of the population of Egypt was about 30% Greek during the Hellenized culture. So the people in Lower Egypt, which is the northern part of Egypt, they are heavily mixed. These real black Egyptians or Nubians have said this. They know this. The people in Lower Egypt or North Egypt who call themselves the Coptic people, they are not ancient Egyptians. They are mixed. They are mutts. And contrary to popular belief, the Coptic language is not the ancient Egyptian language. They can't decipher what's on the hieroglyphs. The Coptic language is just a pre-Arabic language. Contrary to popular belief, it really is. They really don't have any idea on how to decipher what's on the hieroglyphs. They're really just guessing. Now, maybe they might be able to sound out some things, but they can't read it like a book. The Coptic language they cannot decipher that. It's just a pre-Arabic language that was spoken in Egypt. And the word Copt is really a derogatory term used by the upper class Hellenized people to refer to them as basically the peasant class. So to call yourself a Copt or Coptic it's a derogatory term for one thing. Basically means that you're a peasant. You're a peasant class or poor.
Most Nubian people are Sudan?
Yes, of course. Here, maybe you can say here
Most Nubian people are the people in the Sudan.
20% maybe.
Wow.
25 to 25%. You will have part also in Kenya, part in Tanzania.
There are Nubian people in Kenya, Tanzania.
So Kenya, Tanzania.
Some Nubians in Kenya,
Yes.
in Tanzania.
What about Ethiopia?
No, I don't know about.
But you know,
From grandfather, we start having this history.
So you heard what he said. This is a real Egyptian man, or what you would call a Nubian man, which is the real black Egyptians. He said that most of the Nubian people are the people of the Sudan. They go people even all down the Nile River, the people in Tanzania, Kenya, Nubian people. And later on in this video, we're gonna show you where the Nubian people come from, how they come from the lower part of the Nile, up the Nile, all the way up into Egypt. They started from the south and moved up north to Egypt.
Yeah, from Nubia. Also, Nile is very important, but the real name of Nub, that means gold.
gold.
And gold is not means gold, but it means gold life. How you
Oh.
can live gold life. So continue after this by Nile and by this, how to make your life easier. and such as Ethiopia, such as Tanzania, such as Kenya. There are small Nubian villages there. But we come from there. You come
Did you hear that?
from there. It's all one big Ethiopia, such as Egypt and the north of Sudan. But there's many Nubian villages within the African corners of these places that we talked about, such as Uganda, such as Ethiopia, such as Tanzania, such as Kenya.
Uganda, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Kenya. These are places that are Nubian people where they say they come from.
Kenya. There are small Nubian villages there. But we come from there. You come from there.
They come from there. I told you, they started from the southern part of the Nile, the Nubian people, the Afro-Asian people, or whatever you want to call them, moved up the Nile all the way to Egypt, where they eventually settled or stopped, because if you look at Egypt on the map, it's the perfect trading point on the Mediterranean Sea. You have Europe to the north, you have the east to, you have Arabia and the Levant to the east, and to the west you have North Africa, and to the south you have the Nile.
Oh, one big.
There.
Yes.
Follow Happy,
Yes.
God of the Nile.
And
The
it's
Nile is
amazing.
called Happy. We come from these communities.
Exactly.
Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Masaya.
Mhm.
It's ours, you know.
The Nubian people, they come from those communities. They come from those communities around the Nile, around Tanzania and Kenya, he says.
And other tribes there. They move it from there. And they dwell there. And they multiculture it with the Arabs and Jewish.
Yes.
Since Abraham come dwell here, come here to Egypt, or we call it Kemet, and married Hajar.
All right, now on this part is where he's starting to get a little spooky now, though. You know, the biblical Abrahamic talk, you know, about the Israelites and Ishmael. So, if you believe in that, then I guess.
Hajar get Ismail, and they went to Mecca, and they built Mecca. And Ismail become the father of the Arab race, and he's the first one who riding the horse. And his mother African, Nubian, Cushitic. Even Moses, because Moses described by the Prophet Muhammad also, he said he looks like African build-up guy, and his hair like Africans. Moses also is get buried here as the Pharaoh house. We are pharaohs here. Pharaohs, all of them, they are black. Look into their figure. Look into the nose and his lips. And they black of shimmering. They are black. Imagine about this climate. I live in this climate. How I become dusky color? According to...
Now, this is a Nubian man. This is a real Egyptian. This is a real Egyptian man, a black Egyptian, or what you would call a Nubian, telling you about the real ancient Egyptian cultures, about what they look like and where they come from.
My climate?
Yes.
How Germans and British become white? Because frozen cold. They become white, you know, and thin nose. I have wide nose to get more oxygen in extremely hot climate. In summer, it's increased here to 50 degrees. Thin nose cannot collect oxygen.
So you're telling me at the end of it, the ancient Egyptians of the old were of darker skin tone?
Yes, they were dark skin. Like Nubia and the Nile Valley and his contribution to civilization, we have to say the emergence of civilization in ancient Nubia and Egypt was nothing more than outgrowth of culture that developed along the Nile Valley. It is in the Nile Valley where one can find the greatest primary evidence of agriculture, philosophy, writing, engineering, skin, and religions. In soon, all these essential collaborations lead to Greece civilization rises than others in interworld. Nubia or Kush rises up in the sections which between Luxor until Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Ethiopia.
Wow.
Because these people originated from there.
The Nubian people originated from the lower part of the Nile around Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda. This is what he's saying now. And they moved up the Nile River to the Egypt area.
What it is? They are a children or ancestor of Ham. Ham, son of Prophet Noah.
Right now, I don't know about all the biblical talk now, but
Noah, who was flooded by the boat, according what is coming in Torah and the Bible and in Quran as well. He flooded and robbed Ham in east coast of Central Africa, along the equator area, the country boundary, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Ethiopia, and Sudan.
hey, now these are Nubian people in Upper Egypt. These are Egyptian people, or what you would call the real ancient Egyptians. The real ancient Egyptians still live in Upper Egypt, which is the southern part of Egypt on the map. So the ancient Egyptians currently still live in the southern part of Egypt in the Sudan and neighboring areas. These are Nubian people speaking here. You look at her facial features, that long pointy nose and big forehead, and she looks just like one of those ancient Egyptians on the hieroglyphs. Unlike the modern day Egyptians, of course.
عندك في البلد
احنا نعتبر معزولين دلوقتي يعني المستشفى مش شغاله رغم ان هي
embarked on a major public works project. The experience left deep scars on a people who to this day continue to fight to be allowed to return to land they say is rightfully theirs. Claire Williott and Edouard Dropsy report.
These young honeymooners seem thrilled.
We already bought so many souvenirs that I don't have place in my backpack anymore.
Yes. Nika and Kamal came to discover Nubia and the Nubians, an ancient people over 5,000 years old. In 1964, they were forced off their lands during the construction of the Aswan High Dam. Like the majority of young Egyptians, Kamal had been taught very little about the Nubian.
Oh yeah, of course they've been taught little about the Nubian people. Now these are the modern day Egyptians right here, y'all. These are the modern day Egyptians. Here learning about the Nubian people, the real ancient Egyptians.
Nubian deportations.
As far as I know that they are a minority and they are not treated very well by the Egyptian government. This is part of the things that I wouldn't agree.
These are modern day Egyptians.
With, but at the same time, we needed this for the Egyptians.
Relocated an hour's drive from the Nile of their birth, the Nubians were moved to cities with no infrastructure and no work.
These are the Nubian people, the real Egyptians.
We couldn't say no. Everyone left and we had nothing with us. Nope.
To keep the memory of his people alive, Ramadan Majoub plays the kisir, a traditional Nubian instrument. He tells tourists of his paradise lost amidst the floodplains of the Nile.
Oh, now what do you see? A real ancient Egyptian right here, a Nubian, playing an instrument. How come the modern day Egyptians don't still play this instrument? But he does. So that must mean that he's an ancient Egyptian. Oh, well, what do you have here? A man, same color, look just like him, playing the same instrument that he's playing. Now these are Egyptian paintings of the ancient Egyptians. Now I just showed you the modern Egyptians don't look nothing like this. They don't have any culture. They don't retain any cultural practices like this. But the people neighboring them, which are the Nubian people, the real ancient Egyptians, they do still look like this and still have the same cultural practices. And you just saw a man in the video still looking just like this and still playing this instrument. How come the modern day Egyptians don't look like this and still play this instrument if they're the real Egyptians?
We should organize, we as Nubians. It's no good if others divide us. We share our customs and traditions, but the Egyptians have set themselves against us, and that's a problem.
The power struggle between the Egyptian state and the Nubians has been going on for years. There have been protests and legal action. Bassam is one of a generation of young Nubians who've tried everything to reclaim their lands, but he's stood by, powerless.
Oh, what's that? A Nubian? An ancient Egyptian right there? With locks? Yeah, starting to look a lot more like the paintings on the wall now, aren't we?
As the government has done nothing.
They promise us, yes, in one day they go.
Look at this Nubian man, a real Egyptian man. If the modern day Egyptians are the real ancient Egyptians, how come they don't look like this man who look just like the people painted on the wall? How come their hair don't do that? Now on the Egyptian walls, the hieroglyphs, you see ancient Egyptians with all type of hairstyles like this and other stuff. How come the modern day Egyptians' hair can't do that?
Gonna like help Nubian people to come back in old Nubian, but it's not happening.
Look at that. Modern day Egyptians do not look anything like this Nubian man. And we've already shown here how the Nubians are the real Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians.
Yet. Without the government, we cannot come back. For example, we need water there. We need electric there. We are not that people like live in high class building. No. Nubian people, they love the nation, simple life.
To protect his ancient heritage, Bassam has decided to keep up the fight, even if that could ultimately cost him dearly. Dozens of Nubian activists have been imprisoned for demanding to return to their ancestral lands.
Now, this is a little, I guess somebody drew a map of this area. This is Upper Nubia. This is Lower Nubia, Upper Egypt, Lower Egypt. And this is how disingenuous the modern day Egyptians are. So let's say on the real map, I think the Egyptian borderline is like right here. They'll say that everybody in Egypt looks exactly like the modern day Egyptians, which are mixed people, Arabs. And they'll say the people directly south of that borderline are the black African Nubians. They'll say I guess neither one of those people have never crossed that little borderline and intermixed, according to them. You see how stupid that sounds? There's always been mixing. There will always be mixing, especially amongst people who live close to each other like this. Now, according to the Egyptians, these are the Nubian people. We know that these Nubian people who the Egyptians say are the Nubian people on the walls who they have as slaves, these are what we like to think of as the Nilotic people. Now, when I say Nubians don't all have one look. It's just an area. So technically, these Nilotic people, they're kind of Nubians too, even though I guess maybe they have their own identity. They were thrown in there in the bunch as Nubians. Also, according to Egyptians. So when Egyptians talk about Nubians, Nubian slaves, they'll show you pictures like this, which is, I guess, the Nilotic people of the Nubian kingdoms. What's the difference between Nubian and Nuba? There are Nuba and there are Nubians, and this is the cause for great confusion. The Nuba people are the different peoples living in the Nuba Mountains in southern Kordofan. The Nubians today are people who live along the Nile at the border between Egypt and Sudan. Many of them were relocated when the Nasser Dam was built. Okay, now these are the Nuba Mountains, which is in North Sudan, going to the border of South Sudan. So these are where the Nuba people, who we like to refer as the Nilotes or the Dinka people, this is where a lot of them are. But I think that they're in West Sudan, also in Darfur, and also in East. But either way, the Nuba people or the Nilotes or whatever you want to call it were also bunched in as and grouped in as Nubians according to the Egyptians. So when you talk about Nubians, you have the Afro-Asiatic people and the Nuba people or the Nilotic people, but technically the Nubian people or the Afro-Asiatic people are mixed to begin with, because if you really want to get into it, the Afro-Asiatic people or the people from the Horn of Africa or the Nubians is really just like Nilotic people who mixed in with Semitic people to form the Afro-Asiatic race or the Nubian Cushitic race. But I'll say that for another video. And for those of you who don't believe me, these are very ancient mixtures of people. Like these people of the Nilotes mixed with Semitic people to create the Cushitic people. We're talking of thousands and thousands of years ago. A very, very long time ago. Now, here you have Mr. Zahi Hawass, supposed to be an archaeologist or Egyptologist who's I guess supposed to be a spokesman for the ancient Egyptians wasn't black. Now look at this man. He's supposed to be an ancient Egyptian. So he says. So he'd like to take up for him. Look at him. Alright? Look at him compared to a Sudanese man. Now we've already shown earlier in the video that the Sudanese people or the Nubian people are the real ancient Egyptians. Now look at him and compare him to Howie or whatever the man was who I just showed you in the last slide. They don't look nothing alike. These are obviously genetically two different groups of people. This guy is a Nubian or a real ancient Egyptian. The guy in the last slide is a mutt. Modern day Egyptians are mixed. They are not the ancient Egyptians, regardless of what they tell you. I'm sorry. Ancient Egyptians, the Nubian people look more like this man. You can see it all over all over the drawings, the hieroglyphs, and the pharaohs. Another picture of a Nubian man. Now, anybody can cherry pick pictures because we know that Egypt has been subject to foreign invasion over time. So they might have looked different depending on what the time period was. We know that, especially in the northern part of Egypt or Lower Egypt, they were mixed. So anybody can cherry pick any type of certain group of picture. Anybody can cherry pick any certain picture to fit their argument. So since ancient Egyptians weren't black or didn't have African features, what is African features? What is this that I'm looking at right here? This is King Narmor, if that's how you pronounce his name. From the first kingdom. I guess he's supposed to be the first recorded Egyptian pharaoh. Now you remember the girl earlier, the first video I showed you, she was talking about how Egyptians don't have black African features. What is this that I'm looking at? Big wide nose, African features, plump lips. Man, he sure do look black African to me. I mean, he definitely don't look nothing like a modern day Egyptian. Oh yes, I can play the look-alike game too. We can all do that. This is Mentuhotep II. Does he look like a modern day Egyptians? Remember, modern day Egyptians said that Egyptians weren't black and didn't have black African like features? Look at those big lips, little cheekbones right here, the wide nose. Even though I do find it strange that they did point out that a lot of the statues that look more black African mysteriously seem to be missing the nose. But nevertheless, you can see how wide his nose was and his lips. Now, if you're gonna sit up here and tell me that this looks like a modern day Egyptian, now I think that you should seek mental help. Now, here you have some more Egyptian paintings of Egyptian people. Now, look at this man. Look at that. Now, the modern day Egyptians just say it's a wig, it's a helmet. Of course, it's a wig and a helmet because it does not look like their hair, because the hair and head style piece resembles what you would call Nubian or Black African hair. It has to be a helmet or a wig, of course. So modern day Egyptians, if it is a wig, why are you wearing wigs with the hairstyles that don't look like yours and looks like the hair of the Nubians, the people you claim that you hate? This is not a wig. This is a common hairstyle that you'll see amongst people in countries below Egypt, in the Sudan, Ethiopia, going all down the Nile. The Nilos have hairstyles like this. This is not a wig. Egyptians were not black Africans. Modern day Egyptians look like us. Now you see these dark-skinned brown people. You see these Afro-Asiatics facial features with the long, tall faces and noses and tall foreheads with the Afro hair. He has an afro. Modern day Egyptians do not have afros like this. You see his woman right here with the twist. They'll say it's a helmet. You see the helmet piece is actually on top of her hair. These are twists that you commonly find amongst Nubian people or other black Africans below Egypt, around Africa. You'll find them with hairstyles like this. Now this is a statue of Senworset III. Does he look like a damn modern day Egyptian to you? No. He looks like a Nubian man, an Afro-Asiatic man. You can see it all over the feature. Eyes, the ears, the long face, the overbite right here. You know, a lot of people around the Horn in Africa, East Africa, they have the overbite. You can see it right here. So modern day Egyptians, how many of y'all look like this? This is a statue of Sobi Kinfuru, 12th dynasty. And a lot of people, another thing that the modern day Egyptians are trying to say that the only black Africans were the 25th dynasty. You a 25th lie. They'll try to say that. All the past few pictures that I've been showing you are from the Middle Kingdom. These are all from the 11th and 12th dynasties. Even the first. There were what you would call black African pharaohs all going all through all of the Egyptian dynasties. It was not just the 25th. Do not let them tell you that lie. And if you do, you can cross-reference any of these statues that I'm showing you. None of these were from the 25th dynasty. Now you have a statue of Sobi Kinfuru, obviously not a modern day Egyptian. You see those big ears like the Afro, like the Nubian Afro-Asiatics. Here you have, this is some sort of a headpiece. I mean, in order to hold a headpiece on like this, you gotta have, it's almost like maybe she got some braids or something that's covering it or inside of it. So she's probably holding her braids or some type of hairstyle inside of this helmet piece or whatever it is. So, modern day Egyptians. No, this is a wig. All of the Egyptian paintings that have hairstyles that our straight hair can't get are wigs. Does this look like a damn wig to you? This is not a wig. Like I said, if it's a wig, then why is it that all the Egyptians seem to be wearing wigs that mimic the hairstyles that they don't have of the Nubian people who they claim to have hated so much? Now now you won't see modern day Egyptians with hairstyles like this, but what you will find is people in other parts of Africa, around the Sudan, around the Ethiopia, and going south down the Nile, you'll find them like the Nilotic people who still today do hairstyles like this. If you look closely, you can see the twist. You can see where they wrap it around. If you black, then you know exactly what this hairstyle is. Now this is the mother of Imhotep, Lady Carrie Dukan, however you pronounce her name. Now look at this woman. Does she look like a modern day Egyptians? I thought y'all said that the ancient Egyptians were not black. They did not have black African facial features. Well, modern day Egyptians, how come y'all don't have hair like this? How come y'all can't do hairstyles like this? Why is it that people south of Egypt and the Sudan, like the Nilotes and all the other Afro-Asiatic people, how come they still have their cultural hairstyles like this and you don't? Look at this now. Why do the people south of modern day Egypt in the Sudan, like the Nubian people, the Sudan, Ethiopia, why is it that you'll still find people in these places that still have the same hairstyles on the Egyptian drawings, the same cultural practices, the same jewelry, the same everything? But the modern day Egyptians do not hold any of this because they are not the ancient Egyptians. They are mixed. They do not have any culture or history or heritage. They are completely separated from it. They've adopted the culture of all the invaders who conquered and mixed in with them. Now, if this is not spot on, then I don't know what is. This is an Egyptian sculpture or whatever. Now, they said that this was a helmet, remember? They said that this is a wig or whatever, right? That's what the modern day Egyptians would say, but right here, like I said, you'll have people in Ethiopia today that still have the same cultural hairstyles. Modern day Egyptians cannot do this with their hair. Afros. This wavy, curly hair, they still do it today. Modern day Egyptians don't do that though, because they are not these people. Let's show you how disingenuous the modern day Egyptians are. So you know how online on social media they'll love to show pictures of some Egyptians holding the black Nubians about to cut their head off or whipping them or whatever. So some of them, they'll show these pictures and it'll be like, oh, well, you see, the ancient Egyptian, modern day Egyptians were not black because we hated black people. We used to have them on our feet. And they'll show a picture like this, but what they won't point out is directly to the left of this black one, you have another one that looks exactly just like them. So, okay. So what, you're racially superior to the black ones and your own people who look just like you? They also won't show pictures like this of other modern day Egyptians or light-skinned white Egyptians like this who had their asses tied up and were slaves too. They cherry-pick the pictures that they want to show. Show them these pictures and see how they react, since they got such a smart mouth. Look at this Egyptian. Now these are the ones who they say modern day Egyptians just show pictures, paintings of Egyptians that look like this to show racial superiority. Oh, but what's this? Look. Looks like he got his ass tied up as a slave also. Here you have a picture of a Coptic woman taking some notes from her Arab slave master, because the Arabs did enslave the Coptic people and mixed in with them, if you don't know that. This is Best, one of the Egyptian gods. Now, does he look anything like an ancient Egyptian? No. Wide nose, lips, and cheekbones out there. And then you have the leopard's skin clothing. Now, what group of people in Africa still wear leopard skin as clothing? You'll find that people are all going down from South Africa up the Nile. But what you won't find people that do that are modern day Egyptians. Told you, modern day Egyptians do not have any culture or history. Almost every country around Egypt and Africa is closer to the ancient Egyptian culture than they are. Modern day Egyptians do not look like this. They are not this color. They cannot hold hairstyles like this. But the black people in other parts of Africa do look like this and do still have the same hairstyles like this. See? Ancient Egyptian painting. These are twists. Don't let them tell you that obviously that this is a damn wig or a helmet, because it's not. You can see the twist and you can see it right here. The real ancient Egyptians are the Nubian people who currently live in the southern part of Egypt and in countries south of Egypt. They still have the same hairstyle practices, the same cultural ceremonies and everything. Ancient Egyptian painting of Afro. Oromo people in Ethiopia with afros. This is a painting of an ancient Egyptian hairstyle. This is a woman in Africa with that same hairstyle. How come the modern day Egyptians' hair can't do that? Modern day Egyptians, how come your hair can't do that? How come we don't see any of y'all with braids like this? Since y'all are the ancient Egyptians and black people, black Africans aren't. Same thing. Same hairstyles, same jewelry selection. Afro. It's an Egyptian painting of a man with a leopard skin. Remember what I told you? Going all down the Nile River Valley, you can find other Africans that still today wear leopard skin. Going all the way down the Nile to Rwanda, all the way down to South Africa. Oh no, modern day Egyptians are these people. We still have modern day Egyptians. Oh, we still have our culture, our history. Yeah, right. When's the last time you seen one of the modern day Egyptians do this? Do ceremonial dances like this? Never. They don't have that hairstyle. They don't still wear leopard skin. When's the last time you seen modern day Egyptian women carry stuff on their head like this? They'll like to show this picture to try to be racist, to say that the Egyptians, we used to, show a picture, we used to smite the black people, the black Nubians. Well, if you look closely, you have a dark-skinned black Nubian. You have a brown-skinned red one, the same color as him, and then you have a yellow one. So you used to do this to your own people also. So show them that. They'll show this one as another racist one, crushing the black Nubian, but directly to the left of him is another Semitic man or an Egyptian who looks just like modern day Egyptians. They won't show you these. These are obviously black people, hairstyles that modern day Egyptians don't have today. These are the Nubians, or these are people who Egyptians call the Nubians. Here you have the, I guess what you would call a Nilote. You have a brown-skinned Nubian, or I guess what you call an Afro-Asiatic one. Because keep in mind, the whole area of Nubia was mixed. Here you have this dark-skinned black Egyptian Nubian man with his light-skinned mixed Egyptian slave women. This is another racist one, they'll say. They'll try to show pictures and say that Egyptians hated black Africans so much that they had them on our feet. Here to the right, you have Nuba man. To the left, you have an Arab, or someone who looks just like the modern day Egyptians. So, yeah, so on your feet, you also had people who looked exactly just like you, right next to the black Nubian person. Makes absolutely no sense. Here you have more slaves of people who look just like them. Here's an Egyptian sculpture. You see the scarification right here. A lot of the Nuba people or the Nilotes in Sudan, they still practice this today. But no, ancient Egyptians were not black. They were not black Africans, according to modern day Egyptians. Same hairstyles. Here you have an Egyptologist painting hieroglyphs on the wall, lighting them up, putting color to them, so you really can't trust all of these color-wise. These are hairstyles that modern day Egyptians cannot have and do not hold. This is a modern day Egyptian? Hell no. This person is about this culture looks about as far away from a modern day Egyptian as you can get. But they'll say that Egyptians do not have black African features. Here you have some of the light-skinned mixed Egyptians, slaves doing the hair of a black Egyptian queen. They were servants. A lot of these modern day Egyptian mutts like this, who they like to say were who pictures they like to show, they were servants to black Egyptian queens. Pictures like this are funny because it kind of just looks like nonsense, but if you look at it, they kind of make a point. So the Sphinx right here, if you look at the side profile, you see the elongated like snout area. That's something that modern day Egyptians do not have. That's common amongst Sudanese people or Nilotic people or even Nubian people. So this actually makes a lot of sense. And now this Sphinx is supposed to be from as old as who knows when. So this actually makes a lot of sense. This Sphinx from a side feature, it definitely does not resemble any modern day Egyptian. They do not have features like this with the overbite and elongated snout. That's definitely a feature of an Afro-Asiatic person or a Nuba person. Okay, so I just debunked that modern day Egyptians are not the ancient Egyptians. They are heavily mixed groups of people. They are imposters. and that the real ancient Egyptians are what you would call the Black Nubian people to the south. Everyone share this video and have a good day.